Okay, the Band of Gypsies, if you compare them, people like to compare them with the Are You Experienced band. The Band of Gypsies were more of a jam band. By that time, Hendrix was getting more into long, expanded jams, and they were very, very good at that. I would say probably as musicians, the Band of Gypsies were better musicians.
When I heard the Band of Gypsies album, which of course is a live album, and I think they only did a few concerts, I really liked it. It was a completely black rock band. That was extraordinary in the first place. And I think it's a shame the band in many ways didn't stay together, but I can sort of understand why he might have wanted Mitch Mitchell back, which he did. It was a sort of a little bit of Hendrix treading water in a sense, but not musically. I don't think he'd even lost direction, but it was just a different thing he was going to do, and he was trying something out. And for me it worked, but I am biased, I'm a Hendrix fan. For some other people it wasn't too wild, it was a little bit more funky and groovier, and in some ways cleaner. But the live album is a fantastic performance. He's playing and singing great.
With his newfound concerns over civil rights and the political nature of his music, the former paratrooper was now as far opposed to his highly regulated military background as it was possible to be. Unfocused is probably the best word to describe the last year of Jimmy's life. There is something in the heady cocktail of music and fame which makes the talented artist more likely to succumb to the panacea of drugs, especially when things aren't going too well. The life of a musician is both unstructured and unnatural. Musicians who attain the superstar stature that Hendrix did are plunged at a very young age into a bizarre circus lifestyle. The other major problem for Hendrix was the drug culture of the 60s. Drugs and musicians have become synonymous ever since that decade. But back then, the prevailing culture was so strongly in favor of drugs that it was inevitable that people would foist them on Hendrix as peace offerings and presents. Most of us are strong enough to resist temptation beyond our natural limits, but Jimmy's sunny and amiable disposition seems to have made him less able to refuse or to judge when enough was enough. It certainly seems to have clouded his artistic judgment, resulting in an appearance in the bizarre Rainbow Bridge film.
Well, many people have said Rainbow Bridge is perhaps the worst film ever made, and I'm inclined to agree with them, having seen it again recently. And I remember seeing it the first time and waiting for Jimmy to appear.
Is Rainbow Bridge the worst film ever made? Definitely in the top 10. It's terrible as a film. It's unscripted, it's badly cut, it's the only saving grace in it is Hendrix's performance.
Everybody from groupies to promoters to publicists to record company executives all had a vested interest in keeping Jimmy happy. A liberal supply of drugs was the most convenient and easiest icebreaker. It was also the most ill-advised and destructive gift imaginable. Jimmy was not alone in developing terrible drug dependencies. Virtually every guitar hero to come out of the 60s suffered from almost identical problems to Hendrix. Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, Keith Richards, Jerry Garcia and Eric Clapton are just 5 of the greatest guitarists who emerged from that decade with some serious demons to contend with. But the list is endless. Others were not so lucky. The death of his close friend, the Rolling Stones guitarist Brian Jones, had a major effect on Jimmy. At the center of a world of dealers, pushers and groupies, it is not surprising that Jimmy soon began to lose equilibrium.
In all honesty, say that there are any particular highlights. I think he's very tired, his voice is shot, his playing is a little messy. It's a shame that people put so much onus on this performance because he died a week later.
I remember thinking rock music died here at the Isle of Wight.
By 1970, it seemed to be only a matter of time for Jimmy. Ominously, the Band of Gypsies had added Hear My Trainer Come In to their set. On reflection, it seems to have been a haunting premonition of the death of a star. The train which would take Jimmy away was now approaching. Maybe he could already hear the whistle blow.
Some point in time you've tried to play a Jimi Hendrix lick, Purple Haze, Foxy Lady, whatever. So he's influenced everybody along the way, from amateurs right up to professionals like Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck, who have spoken very highly of him and said they've influenced their style.
In a curious kind of way, he had that sort of aura about him, as if he wasn't quite of this earth. So it's not too much of an exaggeration to suggest that, because of his cross-cultural roots and the way that he absorbed so many influences and was so gifted as a musician, a writer and performer. It gave him this unreal, sort of superhuman quality.
Certainly, I don't think in my lifetime are we going to see something quite as explosive as that. And I would put him with Charlie Parker's and Miles Davis and people like that, you know, something extraordinary.